What's happening, everybody, and how y'all doing out there? Got a good old pal and a fellow drummer in the local scene that I played many shows with over the years, and Peter Costa of Torrential Downpour. Torrential just put out their amazing-ass new record, 2020, out on October 23rd, everywhere where you can hear music. So I figured we'd catch up and talk about the process of writing and recording it, as well as some of the more bizarre bills we've shared, and a whole lot more. So hope y'all dig it. Definitely good catching up with it. Get your hands on 2020 as well as the other releases they put out over the last 20 years. That's right. They've been at it for 20 years. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found on iTunes Podcast, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, Amazon Music Podcasts, as well as my SoundCloud and YouTube pages. Feel free to check out any of the previous 200 plus episodes. Give me a like, a subscription, and or a positive review. The support is appreciated. If you're looking to release some vinyl, hit them up over there at NewOrleansRecordPress.com, where you can check out myriad options of electroplating, mastering, design, packaging, vinyl coloring, and a real-time quote generator to add it all up. They also print 12 and 7-inch records in 150 and 180 gram variants. And that is NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Do please support bands in the form of live streams, if you can, as well as lessons, tutorials, and master classes from your favorite musicians, not to mention merch or physical releases that are for sale, as well as websites like SaberStages.com that are looking to provide some assistance to venues that are very much feeling the burn right now. So help any way you can. All right, everybody, here we go. Peter Costa, Torrential Downpour. Dudes are shredding once again and not afraid to get a little weird in between there. Let's do it, Jesus. Crash, bang, boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Yeah. Peter Costa of the one and only Torrential Downpour, straight out of New Jersey. What's happening, dude? How you making out, bruh?
I'm doing all right, buddy. How you been?
Pretty good, man. You know, it's strange times. What can I say? I've been unemployed for a stretch. Thankfully, that's worked itself out, and New York's still expensive, and I have 2 kids, and, not trying to not drink prior to 4 p.m. That's one of the challenges, I suppose.
Yeah, man, you got to set limits.
Yeah, some boundaries. I'm setting some boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
Get into some sort of a healthy regimen prior to 4 o'clock and then throw it all to shit. Come 4 o'clock, happy hour.
There it is. There it is.
Congrats on this new record, 2020.
Thank you.
Yeah, at first when I looked at it, I realized, oh, well, first of all, y'all have been around for 20 years, and this is 2020.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that's the reference. But as an alternative spin, what would have been especially fucked up if y'all would have called it 2020s, as in you had to live through the year 2020 20 times.
Oh, dude, nobody would want that. Once is enough. Once was plenty.
I was just like, wow, what a hardcore record. Like, what a fierce fucking band. And y'all are, man. Like, to call it that, it's like, holy shit, we got to go through 2020 20 times. That's just absurd. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is, but 20 has kind of popped up with us before. We have a song on our first album, which we just re-released, remix, remaster, redux.
That's right.
And it's called 320 The Hologram.
Oh.
So there was also a subtle allusion back to that with the 320.
Holy moly, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, wormholes and threads all over the place.
Seriously, man. You're projecting numerology and willing this into existence somehow. Jesus, this is wild.
It's like astral projection.
Totally. Well, man, what have you been doing since March? Since we mentioned the world has gotten a little strange since then. So, what have you been doing with yourself since then?
Let's see. Playing drums, working on new stuff, some new techniques, getting those doubles down.
There you go. Doubles on the feet.
Yeah, dude, it's the hot thing right now.
Yes, it is.
So we got to get that down. Working on just technique, dynamics, just some grooves, just having fun with it. I think sometimes we get lost trying to be perfect and, play stuff that we expect other people to want to hear.
Uh-huh.
And there should be an element of just having fun with it and just being natural with it. So I'm kind of working on taking techniques and phrasing and stuff, but getting it to a natural, easy to digest place,
Right. I think that's a good goal to have for sure.
Yeah, you listen to some dudes, and I mean, they're great players, but you listen to some guys, and it's just like, wow, that's a lot, or it's like they sound too mechanical. The great ones are the ones that do the complicated shit, but it sounds natural, and you get it. You don't need a calculator to figure it out.
Right.
Other than that, dude, I got a heavy bag down in the basement, so that helps, with the frustration.
Yeah.
Doing some heavy bag work.
Beating the drums, beating the heavy bag.
Yeah, a lot of beating going on.
Yeah. I bet there's a few other things too, buddy. Oh, shit.
Hey, we're only human,
Oh, my God.
But yeah, like you said, you gotta try to keep healthy, in your mind and your body. So, just doing what we can.
Totally, man. Well, did you go down any particular rabbit holes or find that you've been obsessing over any particular record or drummer or, even just, any records that you felt maybe were especially apropos for these bizarre times?
Let's see. I mean, I'm constantly listening to the Car Bomb stuff, I mean, It's just so good. It's so dense. There's so much in there.
Oh my God, totally.
I can't stop listening to it. Other than them, Devin Townsend,
right on.
I mean, he's just got a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Empath was an incredible record. I think it's one of his best. I think it was one of the best albums of the year.
Right on.
That album's amazing.
Yeah.
The new Hum record was really cool.
Oh, absolutely.
I dug that.
Fuck yeah.
I've been digging on the new Bangladeshi stuff that's come out.
For sure.
Yeah. And then I've been getting into some like just straight up like groovy stuff, like listening to like Stevie Wonder, Bill Withers.
Sure.
Getting into like Tears for Fears.
Absolutely, dude.
But yeah, just simple stuff that works. It moves you, it feels good. So
yeah, man.
But like a newer band that I've been getting into was Four Stroke Baron.
Okay.
I've been really getting into those dudes.
Yeah, I just checked them out. Like somehow the Instagram algorithm knew that would be something that I could potentially be interested in, and they recommended it, and I checked it out, and I was like, oh, this is a cool band. That's funny that you just mentioned that. I think that might have literally been last night.
Yeah, they're cool. They got a really cool sound. I really like what the singer does. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do the traditional like metal thing.
Right.
He's got his own little kind of sound, and he fits perfectly in the band, and they're really cool.
Yeah, man.
I really dig their stuff.
Fucking A. Well, I was telling you earlier, but I'll reiterate. 2020, definitely a great sounding record. Kevin Antreassian did a great job producing it.
Thank you.
Y'all did a great job with everything you wrote and obviously the performance. And so I think everything came together. I think it's probably my favorite release that I've heard from y'all thus far over the course of 20 years. So congrats on that. So.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Tell me a little bit about the process of recording this. And I mean, did y'all start writing this stuff? Were y'all writing throughout this year, and when did it actually come time to actually record it?
So we started writing this stuff pretty much right after the Truth, Knowledge, Vision.
Which was 2016? 2014?
2014.
2014, I believe, was when y'all put it out, yeah.
But after that, we kind of started, toying with some of these ideas. There's one song on this, on 2020 called Old Familiar.
Uh-huh.
It's the one that's like just this sample that there's drums to, and then there's like it builds into the later on in the song. But that's been around for a long, long time.
Okay.
And we just never found a home for it.
Gotcha.
And finally, with this, we were like, hey, let's get this done. And it's a really cool track. It's different than the rest of the album, but it fits really nicely.
Totally.
As far as like writing goes, it's pretty collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff came out of just jams that we had at rehearsal that we record. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, that's a really cool idea. Let's work on that. But it's a lot of, hammering out the parts and kind of nitpicking it early on so that when it is time to record, everything's just pretty seamless.
Right. Absolutely.
And then for the recording process, we did a lot of pre-production for this album, which we never really did for other stuff. Mm-hmm. We pre-pro'd the drums and the guitars and the bass, and then got click tracks and I practiced with those for a while going into the studio, and then it was me playing along to the dry guitar and bass tracks with Kevin.
Gotcha.
So it was really easy, no pressure. Yeah, it was great. It was a really fun recording session for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty simple. Little hiccups here and there that pretty much all drummers go through, I guess.
Right.
Where you doubt yourself every hit. You're like, that sucked.
Of course.
But yeah, Kevin, he's great. He's like our fifth Beatle. He's like our George Martin.
Totally.
He understands our language. He understands our methods, and he kind of understands our end vision as we're going through the process.
Totally.
So having him on board is super invaluable for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you mentioned something about doing some pre-production and getting yourself comfortable with click tracks in advance. And I want to mention something that you told me some while ago when I believe y'all did Truth, Knowledge, Vision back in, I know it was released 2014, maybe it was y'all were working in 2013. But I remember you telling me that and correct me if I'm wrong, that you kind of spontaneously went into the studio and you're like, all right, we'll figure out like the click situation here, like on the fly in the studio, right? Did you actually do that?
So we had overall tempo concepts for that. But as we were recording, we were figuring out that we needed to then kind of get more into the weeds with the tempos to make things more comfortable. So in a way, yeah, it was kind of like, all right, well, we'll play it and then we'll adjust the click track and then record it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Whereas with 2020, we took care of all that in the pre-production.
Exactly.
It was like, all right, well, we pretty much did the demo tracks without clicks and then kind of did a tempo map to those because it was like, all right, well, this is where the comfortable, this is where it feels right. And it breathes here and it's, slows there. So we kind of went through and was like, all right, this section is this and this section is that. Mm-hmm. And then, I just got comfortable playing along to that with the natural tempo changes.
Right.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I misunderstood you when you originally told me. I thought you were like, knew nothing about like what any of the tempos would be and be like, I think it's around here. Let's give that a shot. And I was like, my God, Peter, that sounds like a nightmare. Why would you do that to yourself? Fuck.
Believe me, it was a nightmare doing that album, doing TKV. Like I had nightmares for weeks, just the click track, just in my head. I couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know why we do it to ourselves, but why do we do that to ourselves?
I know. I've always been so adamant about kind of figuring it out. And granted, y'all's tempos are far more extreme and more all over the place within a song. And especially, the opening song of this record is 8.5 minutes. So there's a lot of movements, a lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff, a lot of the tempo maps I would imagine would be pretty tough. But for me, it was never that too many. There wasn't that much in the form of tempo mapping. So it was kind of like, right. I'll throw the click on, let's jam this song. Is everybody cool with that? Let's listen back to the demos. If it sounds like it's a little rushed, maybe we can just find a happy median and try to avoid tempo mapping, altogether. But I understand that not every band writes that way. I've just kind of been lucky enough to kind of have it streamlined. Yeah. So in that sense, it was a little bit easier for me to just prepare for it in advance, and months leading up to it, the entire band was getting comfortable with playing it just like that. So so it was easier come time to actually just go into the studio. We're just recreating the thing that we've been doing months leading into it.
Right. But see, the thing with us is we were like getting the guitar and bass tracks like done before the studio. Right. So it was like we kind of had to know exactly what the tempos were so that they can record their parts. Right. And it would be perfect.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of moving parts on the album, so everything needed to be right. Otherwise, it would just seem like the sonic jumble. Of course. And that's not what we were going for. Everything needed to be very precise and right on time.
Yeah. So were y'all able to record the guitar and bass tracks leading into that in your, like where y'all practice and get all the tones and get everything, the takes of everything there?
Matt and Jay did it at Matt's house, right onto the computer.
Nice.
So they recorded the dry tracks right on to I think it was Cubase, but then they dumped it to Pro Tools.
Okay.
Whatever it was. I don't get involved in the tech crap. So they recorded their tracks on the computer and then sent those to Kevin.
Gotcha.
And then I played along to those. And then when that was done, they just reamped them through cabinets in the live room.
Wow.
And it saved so much time. Everything was perfect. There's actually certain guitar tracks that were pulled right off some of the demos because we tried to recreate effects or whatever, and it just wasn't right. So we just pulled them right out of like the working demos that they fit because everything was exactly where it should be.
Wow.
So we had that luxury going in. Yeah.
That's awesome that y'all were able to be happy with reamping. I know that's such a divisive topic, and I know from watching some of Kevin's YouTube videos, he addresses stuff like that. So obviously he's comfortable and has some methods of pulling that out. But it's funny, man, that can be, there's so much negativity around the reamping thing. I mean, if it works, it works. And obviously it worked for y'all.
Yeah, you know what? When you have the money to just burn in the studio for hours and hours to get your parts and tones right, by all means, go right ahead. But if you want to save money and make it as efficient as possible, then, you know, you do all that stuff when you're not paying someone to sit there and hit, you know, the record button. You know, and then you just reamp you find the right head and the right cab combination, and you just play it in real time and, you know, have a beer and you're done.
Yeah, fucking it. Sounds good to me, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. Were there any particular sections of any of these songs that you mentioned sometimes getting in your own head? It's one of the things that I like to address as well, because I've certainly had it. I've had it on gigs. I've had it in the studio where I'm getting inside my head, which is further exasperating kind of whatever my issue that I felt was happening with my playing, and it potentially makes it even that much worse. And then sometimes you realize you're in your head for nothing. You listen back to it and realize it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
all that goes back to you just basically kind of taking yourself out of the game for nothing. But it's hard when the record button is rolling and you know it's time and money and everything else, you know. It's hard to separate yourself from that. But was there any particular section on any of this stuff where you were like found yourself a little off on it?
Yeah, so the song on the album called Incognition was actually the first song that we wrote coming into the new album. So that's, I guess you would call the oldest song on the album.
Right.
You know, and we had played it out a few times, but when I was in the studio, there was just something about some of the parts that I was just like, I can't get this. You know, I was in my head and I'm like, oh my God, I just can't. And then the frustration kicks in.
Yeah.
And you just got to like stop and hold on and take a couple deep breaths. And, you know, you just kind of get through it. You know, you kind of trust that all the work you put in will be there, and you kind of rely on muscle memory a little bit, and you do it. And then, you go back in and you're like, oh man, that was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to be objective about it when you're playing it, you know? It's next to impossible. So then when you can have that objective moment and listen back to it, you realize that oftentimes it was better than you might have thought, especially as we're talking about when you're psyching yourself out. But
yeah, or sometimes, you do something in the studio that you hadn't done leading up to it, and you're like, wow, you know what? Like, it was different, but that really worked.
Absolutely.
Let's keep it.
Totally.
You know?
Totally. Yeah, I'm a fan of that 100%, preparing yourself as much as you can. And I've never been one too much to like write out or just memorize, sort of orchestrate drum fills and whatnot. But I have gone through where some of them are like that. But certainly I like leaving a few of those openings to chance just to see what happens. And oftentimes within the first take or so, I'm usually a first take, second take kind of guy. I definitely don't seem to play it much better after that. But I'm so often surprised when I'm willing to let those spontaneous moments happen, and some cool shit can happen for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had an element of improv in our music. You know, it's just always kind of been in our blood, so to speak. So even recording, I know at least from the drums, I do leave a lot of improv space in the music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously like there's the part and I know how it goes, or there's a fill and I know how long it is. But yeah, I don't write out fills. There are a couple fills on the album where it's like, all right, I'm going to do that fill always there.
Right.
But a lot of the stuff, you know, it was just, you know, just feel it,
Right.
you know, like what comes out naturally, and then how do I articulate it and get it across?
Sure.
So, and there's actually, there's 3 more tracks that we have. Initially, there was going to be an 8-track album.
Gotcha.
And we got to a point where we were like, all right, let's just take these 5 songs, which is, you know, enough material, and it's dense, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Let's just release this stuff now.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back and record these next 3 tracks, which is a lot more of that improv-y, maybe Phantomus-esque, Cleric-esque feel to it,
Sure.
you know, where it has that, like, natural augmentation and weirdness to it.
Sure.
So, but it's cool to get back to that, because I think for TKV, it was like, you know, everything's got to be written, and we got to, you know, make sure it's perfect. Where we were like, let's just get back to what we enjoy doing, and just kind of, you know, let it fly.
So I'd mentioned, I believe, you know, y'all been doing this for 20 years. It has been 20 years, Torrential Downpour.
That is correct.
That is wild, dude. How did this band come about, man? Y'all started in 2000. Here we are, 2020. My God.
Yeah. You want the long version or the short version? Because there's the 20+ year version of this answer.
Right.
I mean, I've known our bass player Matt Cece since high school. He was a sophomore, I was a junior. So we've been playing music since, oh man, what is that, 96?
Wow.
97? We've been jamming together.
Yeah.
And then we met Jay Sherman, and we had another guitar player at the time, and then he stepped out because what we were doing, which would become the direction that Torrential is now, he was like, man, you guys are getting really weird for me. He's like, I think you're on a different level. And then Sherman knew Volpe from a band that they were in together. And he was like, hey, I think he might be a good fit. So in 2000, you know, we acquired Jay Volpe, and we've been 20 years later. Here we are.
That's crazy, man.
You know, I mean, being in a band is like any other kind of relationship or marriage, you know? You find the right people, and it just works, and it feels good.
Yeah, and you don't have sex very often. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Well,
y'all can keep it's fine, man. And no judgment here.
Oh man, but you know, you find the right people, and it works. You know, like sure, there's, you know, we butt heads and all that stuff, but the music kind of speaks for itself. You know. Yeah. Torrential really is like the sum of the 4 of us. Right. We don't really think it would work with anybody else in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. So. That's awesome that y'all have kept it consistent amongst the 4 of you over the course of 20 years. That's incredibly uncommon, man.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I feel super blessed to be able to call Jay and Matt and Sherman, you know, my bandmates. It's incredible.
That's awesome, dude. Well, one of the ways that I knew that y'all had been around a while prior to even this record coming out, I was trying to do the math on it, but I believe the first time that I ever saw y'all, one of my older bands, Family, we played a show with y'all and like 8 other bands out in Coney Island at a venue. At Cha-Cha's. At Cha-Cha's, that's right. I had never been there, didn't know that was a thing, and I had been going to, I guess that was in like 2012 maybe 2011 even, like late 2011, maybe. Early 2012, something like that. But
it was cold out. I remember that.
It was cold, and I realized a couple of things that night, not the least of which that at night, you know, almost nearly a decade ago, Coney Island gets real fucking weird out there. like late
Yeah,
at
it
night.
does.
Now, I don't know. I've been out there since then, and I didn't have that sense, but I don't know if it was that particular night. I don't think it was. I was just like, man, all of the like Coney Island, Brighton Beach, vampire, meth head fucking weirdos have come out at night. It was so strange. The whole scene was so weird out there.
Yeah, it's a strange little place out there
It really is.
on Coney
dude.
Island,
It is.
especially at night.
Absolutely.
I've been out there a few times late at night. My wife is a burlesque performer, so
Gotcha.
she would perform out on Coney Island a lot. And we'd get out. It'd be like 2 a.m, and you see some things crawling around.
You really
and
do.
You kind of question what you're looking at.
Totally, man. It could be really fucking strange out there. Now,
Yeah.
the other realization that I had was after Family played, and I remember it was hot. It was actually hot up, super hot up on the stage. But I think y'all played maybe, if not directly after us, then the second band after us. And I remember watching y'all thinking, I don't know who this band is, but I'm sure as hell glad that they didn't play prior to us, because y'all were just crushing that night. It was fucking ridiculous. And I remember talking to Jason Sherman, that is, and I was like, dude, how long have y'all been playing? And I think he said at that time, like about 11 years. So I was just like, wow, one, I couldn't believe that a local band had been together that long, which of course now even, now going on 20 years is that much even wilder. But it was definitely crazy seeing y'all out there and on such a bizarre night. And that night you gave me a CD, which I still have to this day. And that's, and I've been a fan of y'all ever since I saw y'all that night. So that was definitely one of the stranger gigs that I've played. And it's super cool that it was with y'all who were shredding that night.
That was one of the first shows that we played out in, Brooklyn, Coney Island, where it was like, wow. Not only were you guys and D-Militia played.
Yeah.
Queen Elephantine.
Yeah.
I think they played.
Yeah, I think Crooked Man also played. Johnny Lamacchia Canderia's band played. Yeah. It was
but
crazy.
yeah, there was a bunch of bands, but it was like, man, like, wow, like we finally found bands that like we fit in with. Because out here in Jersey, it's really hard to find like another band. Like, luckily, like, we met up with the dudes from like Binary Code.
Right.
Where it was like, wow, here's another band that we can like get along with. And when we play shows, it's not like, here's a punk band and then Torrential Downpour. It's
Totally.
like, we always kind of felt like orphans or lost children. But as soon as we started playing, with you guys, because we played a bunch of shows together.
Absolutely.
And then, playing shows with the Car Bomb dudes, it was like, wow, we finally found our tribe.
Totally.
It was like, here's a bunch of people in cool places that get us. That's when we really started, that's when we started getting a lot more fans and a little bit more recognition and respect, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say.
Sure.
It was like, hey, we all right, this is where we've always belonged.
Right.
Was in that Brooklyn area. So it was, and that was the show where it kind of first started, where we got in with you guys.
Right. I too was completely unaware that scene even existed, because when I first joined the band Family that we were talking about that played that Coney Island show, I remember them saying, yeah, maybe we'll play like this lit lounge show on a Monday night. And I was like, dude, who the fuck is going to come see this obnoxious music on a Monday night at like in a basement?
Dude, those shows were awesome.
Yeah, people were always there. I could not believe it. And that's when I realized,
Always.
Yeah, that's what I was like, there is actually a scene of these underground bands that I had no idea about prior to playing with bands like you and, Mika's Murder Guys and Tiger Flowers and all those other bands. And like you said, Binary Code, we were all playing together. It was a total scene then. It was really cool.
Yeah. It went from we have a show to like, oh, we're going to go hang out with our buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to be playing some music too, but we're going to go hang out with our friends.
Right.
It was awesome.
Absolutely.
It is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, another fun show that I was thinking about with that we would have played, and at this point it was my next band in Beast Modulus. We played with Torrential Downpour when y'all did the annual Dime set out there at your place.
Yep.
And I don't remember what year that was, but obviously y'all played like 2 sets of Pantera songs. We even tried to play a Pantera song, and yeah, man, that was awesome seeing y'all play all that shit. It was fucking amazing. In playing that stuff, what sort of drum awareness did you get, or sort of insights into Vinny Paul's playing, having had to learn all of those parts? What'd you learn about him as a drummer?
I've always been a huge Vinny Paul fan.
Uh-huh.
You know, from the first time I heard Pantera in my buddy's basement, he's like, "Oh, I got this CD. It was called Far Beyond Driven," and he puts it on, and I'm like, "Holy shit, what is this?"
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was listening to like the Beatles and Nirvana and like, you know, the Seattle stuff.
Yeah.
But as soon as I heard this album, I was like, all right, well, this is it. This is what I love.
That's awesome.
And then like, seeing all the Dime Fest, learning all his stuff and trying to get it as close to perfect, but I didn't want to just be like, I kind of wanted to have it be me, but playing his parts.
Sure.
To me, it seemed Vinny was just all about just the groove of the song and how do you drive the song.
Totally.
How do you keep the momentum going and building while you got, arguably one of the greatest guitar players ever, shredding it up, arguably one of the best heavy metal singers doing his thing.
Yeah.
And an amazing bass player in Rex. How do you push all that forward and drive it and make it awesome? And you do it with the groove, and you find that backbeat and you just pound the crap out of it. And then, you spice it up here and there.
Mm-hmm.
He had incredible chops.
Yeah.
And when he would let them loose, you're like, wow, that's really cool. But he wasn't one of those dudes that overplayed or was like, all right, well, I'm going to put a fill here and then a fill here. And then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do that. It was just like, well, the song needs this. And then right there, I'm going to make my statement, and then we're going to move it to the next part.
Right.
And you learn a little bit more of like, that restraint. But then when you do let it go, man, you just rock the fuck out of that. And you just plow into it, and you hit hard.
Yeah.
Vinny was a heavy hitter. I'm a real fucking heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It wasn't so much, counting and making sure you're on, but it was just that natural beat. It was that driving rhythm. And that's really what Vinny is. He's just that driving force.
Absolutely. Fuck yeah, man. Question. There was another gig that we played together, and I don't remember if it was Family or Beast Modulus at that point, but I feel like y'all were there. So I don't know if you remember when the Charleston closed down and Mika's Murder was the last band to play that night, and they destroyed the whole place. They ripped the ceiling down. It was fucking like, sheet rock everywhere. It was a total mess. But did Torrential Downpour play one of those nights, or were y'all there? Do you recall that?
We played one of the last Charleston shows, but not that one. I remember being at that one. We were there, but we didn't play. But we were at one of there was like a couple weeks where they were like getting all the shows in and like, hey, we're saying goodbye to the Charleston. Because we played there twice, and we definitely played kind of on that tail run that they were doing. But I definitely remember being there for that and thinking, man, this whole place is just coming down. Like, we got to get out of this basement.
Totally. Yeah. For those of you listening that might not know the place that we're referencing here, there's this small place that the Charleston upstairs, they would have free cheese pizzas, kind of a dive bar. I DJ'd there at some point, and like you would go down these little stairs, and then in the basement they would throw these punk rock shows. And I played there I'm pretty sure if Torrential Downpour and like one of my bands played there on one of those bills, and like we're talking about towards the tail end, that just this local band Mika's Murder just absolutely ripped the place apart. The ceiling came down. It was it was wild. I stood at the back, and the same thing that you thought. I was just like, I probably need to I'm going to stand as close to these stairs as possible. I'm not going to be on the front of this. I'm going to be on the back of this. I'm going to be one of...
Even those stairs were suspect.
Completely.
Like, I don't know what fire marshal signed off on that, but he got paid.
Oh, yeah, for real, right? Totally, man. Absolutely.
But I mean, hey, if you're going to close down a venue and send it off, that's how you do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Well, with streaming, with bands doing live streams and of their shows and whatnot, I don't know if y'all have any plans to do that. I know y'all did a video for the first track off this new record, which is awesome. I'll put a link in the description of this episode for people that want to check it out. But are there any plans to do a live stream somehow?
We have plans, but it'll be for next year.
Gotcha.
We're not going to try to rush anything to squeeze it in for this year, especially, with what's about to happen, with the election and everything going on. We're just like, you know what, there's a little bit more important stuff to worry about and figure out. We'll get to the live streams and that stuff when all this is figured out and the fallout has settled.
Yeah, right. I hear you, dude.
We had tossed around the idea of, setting up some GoPros in our studio downstairs and just doing something down there like that. I know Kevin at Backroom, he's been doing some live streams, which have been coming out awesome.
Totally.
So yeah, we'll definitely get there after the album's out, and then probably come the new year.
Nice.
We'll definitely start playing some quote. I'm doing air quotes right now. Some shows. Gotcha,
man. Well, as far as playing drums, man, I didn't even ask you, but why the drums in the first place? And was that your first instrument? Did it all start there, or did you segue into the drums from another instrument?
I tried playing guitar as a kid.
Same here.
And then I have fat, short fingers.
Right.
Like the rest of me is fat and short. So I had a real hard time playing guitar. And when I was taking lessons, unfortunately, I had a bad teacher. So he was more interested in like showing me the cool shit he could do than like, showing me fundamentals.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, this is kind of lame. And then a buddy of mine was like, hey, I think I want to start a band. He's like, I play guitar. I'm looking for a drummer. And I was like, well, I'll give drums a shot.
Yeah.
I was able to get, a very inexpensive kit and kind of figure out how to make drums sound like drums.
Yeah.
And we started playing Beatle tunes.
Nice.
That's what I learned, was playing along with Ringo and Paul McCartney and all those albums. And, Sgt. Pepper was my drum teacher.
Wow.
And then from that, I got into Dave Grohl and Nirvana.
Sure.
Matt Cameron from Soundgarden.
Absolutely.
And then, like I said, once I heard Pantera, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, well, I gotta get double bass. I gotta figure out how to play that. I gotta get the power. I gotta get the groove down.
Yeah.
And so that was when I first realized, like, all right, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I make $1 million or I make no money, like I'm going to play drums because I love this music and I love doing it.
Yeah.
And then, going through, you just find these guys, as you explore music, oh man, there's so many dudes.
I know.
Oh, it's like, where do we even, who do I even talk about? It's
totally.
I mean, we've done it before.
Yeah.
And it's gone on for hours where me and you will sit down and be like, oh, this dude and that dude. Oh, did you hear this guy on that album?
Of course.
So,
there's so many,
but you listen to dudes and you pick different things from them, even, you see your friends play live, like, watching you play, I've picked little things from you, and watching Elliot play, pick things from him, and Kenny, you see like, oh, wow, that's a cool idea.
Sure.
That's a cool concept. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, in talking, you find out who you guys listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to listen to them. So you find, Vinny Paul and those guys.
Totally. Fuck yeah, man. Learning on the fly, learning on the gig. I like your style, man.
Yeah. I mean, I never really took like 3 months of actual like drum lessons.
Right.
And then I was just like, I like, it's cool. Like, I've always learned and I want to be a student of the drums, but man, I just want to fucking rock out,
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, man. That's good stuff. Well, cheers to rocking out, my man. And again, congrats
Yeah,
on
buddy.
2020. Again, I think it's a great record.
Thank you.
It's my favorite thus far. And again, great production by Kevin Antreassian. And yeah, all the stars aligned. And it may be a bizarre world in which we find ourselves, but at least there's some cool music out there to listen to. And I think one of your records is one of them.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. I hope everybody enjoys it.
Absolutely.
You know? That's all we really hope for, is just listen to it and enjoy it. You know, I hope it can be an escape for some people. You know, you can just kind of put it on and forget about all the bullshit around us for a little while.
Fucking A, man. Right on, Pete. Good talking to you, my man.
It's always a pleasure, Jody. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging as always. And thanks to Pete for rapping. Definitely cool catching up with him and reminiscing about some of the more bizarre shows that we played back in the day, as well as influences and, of course, some of the processes behind Record 2020. Album rules. Hope y'all check it out and enjoyed the talk. We'll catch you on the next one. Crash, bang, boom.